today we're back with a special guest. We are on From Cells to Shelves with Trinity, and this is a very, very dear friend of mine. We met in jail, unfortunately, but fortunately because we are still very close, and we have shared so many memories together, traveling, hanging out with our kids. And as you know, whether you are an officer, an inmate, a counselor, a doctor, everybody deals with different situations when they are behind the gate. So today, please join me in welcoming a great, great friend of mine, Miss Pittman.
Hi.
So today, she is going to share with us her experience being an officer, different things that has happened to her throughout her career, and this is the uncut, raw version of her story. We are a judgment-free zone. We are here to show support and love, and everybody that has been through anything through a facility, it doesn't define who you are, it just makes you stronger. So we are going to start, and if for people who do not know you, even though I gave that introduction, please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Andrea.
She's a little nervous, guys, but you know what? We're gonna make it through. So, how did you get into corrections? Like from what you were doing before, how did you get into corrections?
Okay, so I started in retail and I was taking a whole bunch of city tests. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a correction officer, but I knew that I needed to leave my retail job, so I just wanted something that would give me like a brand new start where I can kind of like get myself situated and things like that. So I went and I took the test and they called me back, and I was a little nervous, but I was also excited at the same time to kind of like branch out and start something new.
That's good. They know you're nervous. I was nervous too. I have a lot of bloopers, but it's okay. Once you get it out, that's it, and then that's it. However they're gonna respond to it. What I always try to tell people, you're never gonna be able to rate what somebody thinks of you. Right. You can overthink. Oh, if I do it this way, they're gonna say this about me. If I look this way, they're gonna. It doesn't matter because it's probably what they're gonna say anyway. So it's okay if you're nervous. We need to take a break. They're just gonna have to deal with the edits. And that's that. So, you being an officer, tell us about your first day on the job. When you first passed the academy, you go into your jail, how did that feel?
It was nerve-wracking. I didn't know what to expect because when you're in the academy, you visit the jail, but it's different when they lock you behind the gate and you have to
and leave you and throw away the key.
Wing it and figure out what to do. And the inmates, they smelled it on me too. They like, we know you new girl.
Yeah.
But it was okay. Once I got past the nerves and I kind of went back, because I took a lot of notes to kind of guide me through what I was supposed to do. What I was supposed to do. Once I got past the nerves and figured it out, because I did have what's the word? Oh my God. Like a senior officer. I did have a senior officer with me.
When you were shadowing.
Yeah, when I was shadowing, who kind of guided me through and helped me with the things that I needed help with. So once I got past the nerves, everything was okay. And I knew that I could do it.
Yeah, once you get past that first day, it's like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then you get into something crazy, and then you're like, I can't do this.
I can't do this. Right.
Okay, so what do you think was the most difficult part from you being a regular civilian, you don't have a shield, to being an officer? How did your life change? What do you think changed during that time?
I would definitely say it was the hours and then having to get used to the environment. So first I would say the hours, because no matter how much work you do from any other job, any kind of overtime, I don't think it ever prepares you for jail overtime. Because once they say you gotta stay, you gotta stay. That's it. You know, you don't have any say so. So whatever, you know, if you need a babysitter, if you have plans, you can forget about all that.
That's probably the worst phone call. Worse than, no, it's like comparable to death. Like if you get an unexpected call of someone that's getting that call that you have to stay It doesn't even matter if you have plans. Just you telling me I cannot leave.
Right.
And I am a free individual in the United States and I cannot go home. That is one of the worst feelings ever. So I can completely relate to that.
Absolutely. And then not even so much that, but then, you know, having to try to rush home to get some sleep, to know you have to come back and have to repeat it all again in 3 or 4 hours or however long it's going to take, you know. And then the environment, because I kind of pride myself on like being positive and outgoing. And
she was the young church lady.
Yeah. And I'm still
always praying, playing gospel.
Yes.
And so positive energy she always had that. I think we were locker buddies too.
We were
close. Yeah. Is that how we met in the locker room? I can't remember. Or on post?
I think we met on post.
Okay, so
if I remember correctly.
And then we found out that our lockers were next to each other.
Right.
Because you never really know who's next to your locker because the
you don't
hours
see anyone.
fluctuate so much that you don't even know who's next to you. You couldn't work with them, did everything with them for years, and then I know this was your locker.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the environment is kind of tough too, because with me being positive and the inmates being so negative, and even not, I won't even say just the inmates, because some of your coworkers could be a little nasty too sometimes.
Nasty.
You know, they miserable, you know, or the job kind of weighed them down a little bit, so they kind of put you
tough
down.
Love. There's a lot of tough love in the facility.
Absolutely.
Like, if they went through it with previous officers and they were like, listen, this is how you do it, this is how it's done, ain't nobody gonna sugarcoat, anybody's gonna make this an easy ride for you, this is what they did to me, this is what I did to you.
Right.
I'm gonna throw your keys on the desk, deal with it. Like, so because that is the training that they receive, that is not book training, the training that they receive from other officers, you're bound to go through that.
Right.
So when you have new millennials and we're happy and like we're helping each other, they're like, well, who do y'all think y'all are? I had to go through this and that. So they still have that training, even though it's 20 years later. They feel that we're doing the job and we're just catching on to things. We're learning the computer systems faster than they are. So there's this this unspoken, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just there's this air, like, there's something going on. They just don't feel you, like, and they're not gonna get along with you because you're just learning faster and at a faster rate than they could have back then, because they weren't using computers and they weren't doing certain things. There's a lot of things that I'm sure an officer with 20 years on the job could tell you, that how they gain control is way different than what we could. So they think that we're softer, but we have more rules to follow, and nobody wants to go to jail.
Generational differences.
Yes. Yep. That's a perfect way to describe it. So, ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna just start it. Me and Pittman used to ride together all the time, going to work together, listening to music, coming from Staten Island. That was another thing that we bonded on, that we both were from Staten Island. So when I didn't want to drive and she wouldn't drive, we'd pick each other up, bring lunch together and all these different things. And then we're locker buddies, so we come in together. Now we're playing at the lockers. Oh, you got a spray, all these different things. So this particular day, which I will never ever forget this day, even though I don't know everything that happened this day, I didn't come to work with her this day. And if you know, when you're in a facility and an officer is in some sort of trouble, whether it's their fault or they were included in something that somebody else did, they will either have investigations, plainclothes officers, and maybe dogs, or IG or ID. They'll have some form of group of officers that know who they're targeting. And this particular day, I saw them, but I didn't see her, and we didn't ride together. So I will let her continue. This is her first time ever revealing this. This is a safe space for her to reveal her story, and it just is what it is. It doesn't define who she is as a mom, as a friend, or anything else. This is something that happened in her life, and she's letting it all out on the table for my show, which I really appreciate. But I think it's going to be a healing process for her as well. It's uncut. This is the real version. So here you go.
Okay. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I remember I was driving and I was coming over the bridge, because we have to ride over the bridge to not to get to the facility, but you park in one place and then you take the bus to your different facilities. So I remember as I was coming in, I felt a sense of anxiety that I wasn't quite sure where it was coming from, but it wasn't my first time feeling it because jail kind of has like a heavy energy. So sometimes you carry that energy home with you and you bring it back and forth. So I wasn't necessarily feeling like something was wrong, but I had a feeling in the pit of my stomach that just something wasn't right. So I got to my facility and I was walking to the metal detectors that we have to go through before we can figure out what our posts are or where we're gonna report to and do for the day and things like that. And before I could even get through, some plainclothes officers, I'm not sure which department they were from, I don't remember, but they pulled me off of the line and I had to go with them, which was extremely embarrassing because, you know, everyone's looking at you, everyone's like, what's going on? I wonder what she did, you know. And so I had to go with them, and they brought to my attention that they found out that I had an inappropriate dealing with an inmate that I had control over or custody over. And
so they call that undue familiarity. So
yeah.
If you do have someone that you know, or even someone that you don't know, but either you have some sort of relationship with them or you know them outside of the jail, and you don't inform the facility about this relationship in any way, even if it's a platonic relationship, you know them, they're your neighbor, you are supposed to notify the department. So at the times where you don't, they automatically seem that it's something that you're trying to hide or whatever the case may be. So they call it undue familiarity, which could be a charge depending on what happens, right?
Right. So they pulled me into, I wouldn't call it like an office because it really wasn't an office. It was like a little spare room that actually felt like a cell. It was so small. It was it felt like the walls were
Where at? Like in the front of the building?
Yeah, it was.
Was it pink on the inside? No, it wasn't pink because you didn't get past the gate.
No, I didn't get past the gate. No, I did get past the gate and they pulled me
so
out.
Maybe that corner. Mm-hmm. Or where they do the council visits? Not in there, because everybody can see you in there.
I don't even want to stay there because I don't even think it was by, you know, where the GO and all of that is. It was before all of that. So it had to be like on the outside. And they asked me a lot of tough questions, you know. What I was doing, if it was true, how could I explain it, you know. And I was honest. They checked my car to see if I was bringing in anything that the inmates weren't supposed to have, which is called contraband, weapons, drugs, anything like that. So I really felt like a criminal. And even though what I was doing wasn't right, I would never do anything to put one of my coworkers, one of my fellow officers in jeopardy. So I would never, you know, bring in something that would cause them any type of harm, because that would be on my conscience and that would make me feel extremely guilty. So it was nothing like that. So the fact that I was telling them that, I mean, I know they were doing their job, so they had to double check anyway, but it was very belittling, you know, and very like shame-filled, because all of this is about
Like
you as my friend, number one.
You were vulnerable in that situation.
Absolutely. You as my friend, you don't know what's going on. I know people are asking you, hey, what's going on with Pittman?
Yeah.
So that was tough. That was really hard. It was.
So what can you say exactly? So there was an inmate in question, and you were inappropriate in what way? Because obviously there's a bunch of rumors, but I'd rather you tell your story as freely as you can, what you're comfortable with, instead of me being like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that?
Okay.
So what can you explain about why it was undue, and how did you even get to that space? Like, how did you even get close to this particular inmate? Did you know him before, any of that?
Okay, so first things first, I know one of the rumors that I heard was that it was said that he was my child's father, which is absolutely false. Absolutely, nothing about that is true. But I can say, I was out on maternity leave, and when I came back from having my son, I was in a really low, insecure, vulnerable space,
Like
which is no place to be in jail. Right, absolutely. That's no place. You can't bring that to jail with you. But I did, and I didn't know him prior to, but I feel like, and this is no justification, I'm not trying to justify what I did at all, but I feel like he kind of smelled it on me, and he played off of that a little bit.
Off of the fact that you're naive.
Yeah. Because I was still young. I was 24 at that time, which it sounds like it's a big age, but my mindset wasn't where it should have been as an officer. So he didn't say anything inappropriate at the time, but because of the place that I was in with myself, and my insecurities, I kind of enjoyed the attention that I was getting from him, in the sense of like, me and my child's father, we didn't make it 1 month after my child was born. So like I said, there was a lot going on. So getting that attention from him felt good. It validated me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It made me feel good, in a sense of I wasn't getting it from where I was expecting to get it from. So getting it from somewhere else made me feel like worthy, in a sense, because I felt like I was lacking something. And
well, hold on one second. I will say, being in a facility with males and females, there's a lot of sexual tension no matter what. So it's not solely because she's my friend and I'm trying to defend any right. There's captains and officers that have it. There's inmates and officers that have it. There's all different types of relationships. Officers and doctors, officers and nurses. So because everybody's in this facility or any type of confined environment for a long time, your mind is just playing tricks on you. You can't go home, you can't see your family. It's not an individual thing. It can happen to anybody. You might be flirting with your partner just to get through the day. So it's not something to where as, oh, she was the only one in the whole facility that ever been in this situation. There's some people that particularly go to specific houses because they're cool with those inmates, or there's an inmate in there that they find attractive, or they work in a certain building or area because they have a partner that they're attracted to. Whether that person has a home outside of the job doesn't matter, because at that moment I'm doing 20 hours and I want to do it with you. So it's not just solely her, you know?
Right. So I fed into the attention. I thrived off of this attention that I was getting for a little while, and eventually I did come to my senses, but I couldn't. At this point I'm nervous because I'm like, it can go one or two ways. I can try to end this, and he can be manipulative and, you know, and take my career, right? Which is something that I was scared of. And I did try on 2 occasions, and that's kind of the route that it was taking. So I was like, you know what? Let me just try to appease the situation and get through. And, you know, I learned my lesson. And so moving forward, if I make it out of this situation, I know not to go backwards and to get myself into this type of situation again. It didn't work that way, but that was the plan in my head.
That was the mindset.
Right.
So you didn't know him outside of the jail. You were vulnerable at this time. You end up getting this relationship with him that was probably just him talking to you, you venting to him. Because let's be clear, every individual that's in custody is not a horrible person. Sometimes they put you on and get you through your day because they're so equipped with what the jail system is like. On your first couple of months, they're the ones helping you the most. Like, listen, don't do that. Don't stand this way. Don't walk over here. That dude, I've lived with him for many years. He's a rapist. Or they're coaching you through. So now it is a fine line. Or behind the scenes.
So with all of the people who decided to cut me off or not be my friend or, you know, tell you not to deal with me or whatever, I run into so many people even now to this day that I didn't necessarily consider to be friends, who, you know,
they're
they
like
still ask about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm sorry that happened. You know, you were so amazing. You know, they asked about my child, and I believe it only because some people won't say anything. You know what I mean? There are people who I actually thought were my friends who, when I would reach out to them, they would just ignore me as if I wasn't even there, you know?
What I can say about that, I think that people think they're better at communicating than they really are, you know, or people want for you to pull out their feelings from them. So it's not a good or a bad thing, it's just a difference in people. So maybe, you know, they felt like you would have just came to them and started rambling, like, this is what happened to me, this is what went on, instead of them just saying, hey, are you okay? You know, I didn't really know how to respond to this situation because I didn't want to get myself in trouble. So instead of them telling you these things, they just automatically just like shunned you. And, you know, I can't fault anybody for any which way they dealt with it. But for me, I'm not so if you're not going to tell me that I can't be somebody's friend because of something that I don't even know what happened. I don't even know what happened. So after all these different things that happened, so basically it was never the fact that you were messing with him, it was just you being inappropriate with, you know, this said inmate, and him just running around the jail just trying to make it something because he knew he kind of like got you, like, you know, I already got my pictures, I already got my phone calls, now she can't, you know, I have her in the palm of my hand kind of thing. So once investigations and everybody gets involved, do you feel that the amount that they gave you, I guess, or whatever charges or anything that they gave you matched what you did?
Okay, so the way that I decided to handle it was I thought it would be best for me to resign while they were still investigating because I wasn't sure what my outcome was going to be. I know what I did, but I didn't know what they were going to decide to charge me with, if there were going to be charges. So I thought it would be best for me to resign for the simple fact that, especially as the mother of a newborn at the time, my son was only a couple of months old, I could bounce back from it and try to go to another civil service job if that's what I wanted to do, instead of having that on my record if something concrete or conclusive came from it, where I was just like shunned and I wouldn't be able to do anything productive, and then I was kind of stuck as a single mom and not being able to do anything for my baby.
That was smart. That was smart.
It was a hard decision.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't easy.
Because you don't know what is gonna come next. You don't know whether or not you're gonna be able to get another job. What if they close the list and no jobs are hiring? You know, but we appreciate you coming and, you know, telling your story. I would like you to tell maybe some new officers that are coming into corrections or the police department, because you can be naive even with your coworkers, and that could also end you up in a situation that is not the most becoming of your character or anything like that. So what kind of advice would you give them, you know, moving forward if they find themselves getting into a gray area?
I would say at first if you're not sure if you're blurring the line, then that means you're probably blurring the line.
Mm-hmm.
And to make it very cut and dry. And by cut and dry, I don't mean be nasty, because if you're not a nasty person, there's no need to be nasty. Everyone's human, you know, everyone is not a terrible person, but keep it professional, you know. And also, I would just say, be sure about what you're doing and the decisions that you're making, because once you start second guessing yourself and overthinking, that's when you make mistakes, you know. So just be sure about what you're doing and make sure that you have a plan that you can follow, so that you don't fall victim to someone who may be trying to get over on you. And that's all I got.
I appreciate you.
That's all I got.
Thank you for tuning in to From Cells to Shelves with Trinity. This was my dear friend Andrea, and I'm so thankful that she came to finally tell her story. And for everybody who had something to say, she has bounced back 10 times over, and she's an amazing mom. Her son is doing well, if you want to know.
Yes.
So we will see you on the next episode. Stay tuned. Stories that we have on my time on Rikers Island on From Cells to Shelves with Trinity.